journal, is that ongoing from day one to day close? Or does that start over each month?
Okay, so we covered the general journal in Chapter 4. And what you'll do is you'll start at the beginning of the month and you'll put the date and you'll keep going. And at the end of the month, let's say you're 3/4 of a way down a page, you'll stop. And then there'll be some closing entries, which we'll learn in Chapter 6. And then wherever that stops, you'll start a new page for the following month. You'll start at the top of a page. Okay? Other questions?
Is that the same for the general ledger, or would you, because each account has its own page or
Right.
number?
Its own book even.
Or,
Yeah.
So would you do the same for the ledger also, start a new page every month?
Right. And when we do the closing process, you'll see that. So you'll put in the beginning balance like I showed you a second ago. You'll enter all the transactions in the general ledger. And at the end, you will have a closing entry if it's a temporary account.
Okay.
If not, you will have a balance, an ending balance. Then there will be a new page where you'll start with the opening balance for that following month. Okay? Other questions? All right, so you guys all have it down pretty good then? Let's dive in. Who would like to help me with problem 4.1a? Lots of volunteers, good. They've given us some accounts, and they've asked us to record the transactions in the general journal. Okay? Let's just do a few to get some practice at it. Good? What's the format for our general journal? Date. Description. I'm sorry, what? Post reference. Debit. Okay? Page number. Very good. We're just going to go for page 1. Good? Okay. So what's the first transaction? Go ahead. September 1, 2015? 2013. 2013. September 1. Go ahead.
Rent expense on the description.
Well, go ahead and just read the whole thing.
Oh, okay. Well, rent expense, then $1,400.
Hang on. Issued check 1169 for $1,400 to pay the September rent. Okay, that way we can tackle the concept.
Okay.
So,
Problem.
4.1a. Problem 4.1a. Since you guys didn't have questions, I thought we'd jump to the harder stuff. Okay? So we issued a check to pay the September rent. Description is
Rent expense.
September rent. That would be our description, which will come in a minute. Sorry, you're right. The debit is always first. Rent expense. Debit, $1,400. Cash is the credit. Credit, $1,400. I'm just going to drop the zeros. There we go. And our description is
September rent, check 1169.
okay.
Should we use account numbers?
Not yet. Okay? We will go there. I promise you, we will go there. Okay. Was there another question? No? Good? All right. What's the second one? Performed services for $2,500 in cash. Correct? Okay. What was the date? September 5th. Do I have to repeat the year? No. Do I have to repeat the month? No. Skip a couple lines, come down, put the 5th. What account is our debit to? We got cash. How much did we get? 2,500. Come down a line, what's our credit? Fees income. And that's a credit, $2,500. Description?
Services performed.
Normally I would get an invoice number, right? There'd be something, but they didn't give us one, so I'm making one up. Okay, next one. I'm going to skip the next one. We won't do the whole problem, right? We'll just get the general concept. Everybody's good with that? Okay. Paid $600 for the monthly telephone bill. For starters, that was on the 10th, so I'm going to come down and plug in 10. What's my debit to? Telephone expense. How much was it for? 600. And my credit is to? Cash. $600. Good? Okay. I'm going short on the description because it takes me forever to write on the board.
Can you do September 21st, the return damage net and receive cash?
Okay, read the whole thing for us.
Return to damage net and receive cash, and cash refunds of $450.
Returned
The
a damaged net. What kind of business are we in here? Tennis. Oh, okay. Now it makes sense. You know, in accounting, the term net means something. I was just making sure that, yeah. Okay, so we returned something. The net was what to the company? What account was it originally posted to? Equipment, right? So equipment is going to go up or down when we return this? It's going to go down, so that would be a credit. So what account is our debit to? All right. On the 21st, we got cash, and we returned equipment. And how much was it? $450. And then we'd put down here a description, you know, return net returned damage net to vendor. Good? Okay. So, any other specific ones you guys want to do? All right, I think the best, go ahead.
I think there's a couple compound ones.
Oh, a compound entry?
Yeah, or actually, no, that's the next one.
Well, we can pull one from the next problem. It doesn't matter. We're not doing them all in order here, by any means.
Okay. Yeah. Compound ones.
So in problem 4.2 on the next page,
On the 18th.
Yeah.
on the 18th,
Yeah. Purchase a computer for $2,500 from Office Furniture Mart Incorporated. Invoice number 7108. Issued check number 1005 for a $1,500 down payment, with the balance payable in 30 days.
okay. I'm going to try and squeeze this in down here at the bottom. Normally, the dates would be in order here, but since we've switched problems, all of a sudden my dates are going to be out of order. Okay? Okay. I'm just pretending it's the same company, but they're not really. So let's just say it's the 22nd, so nobody tries to get confused with this, okay? On the 22nd, we purchased what?
A computer for
Okay.
$2,500.
And that goes in what? Office equipment. And our debit is for $2,500. And how did we pay for it? We gave up some cash.
Yeah. There was a check number 1005 for $1,500.
Okay, so we gave up $1,500 in cash. And the rest of it we promise to pay later, accounts payable, for the other $1,000. Okay? And then we'd put the description on the bottom, purchase new computer, paid check number so-and-so, balance due in 30 days. Sound good? Okay. Other specific questions for the general journal?
When you do compound entries, you always do the debits first, then the credits?
Always debits first, credits second. You don't alternate debit, credit, debit, credit. You just do all your debits first,
Okay.
then your credits.
Start inserting descriptions and stuff after cash or whatever.
Correct.
Save all that at the end.
The description goes at the very end. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
If you were to have two debits in a compounded equation,
Yes.
would you indent the second debit or leave?
No.
Okay.
It would be debit, debit, credit, credit. You could have, debit, 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 credit, 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 credit. You could have a whole bunch. Could be a big compound entry. Yes, sir.
Would this also be the place you want to put like an internal serial number or identification number for that piece of equipment?
Yes, ideally, yes, you would. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
For something like a telephone expense, for an explanation, it didn't say in what number it was, it just said, hey, telephone bill.
Yeah.
Typically, would you put the telephone bill invoice in there, or could you just, if it's telephone expense, debit, cash, credit, can you just put the check number? Because it's so self-explanatory.
With the phone bill, you could get away with that. I try and teach people that more is better. Because what you get, once you get out in the real world and you're doing a lot of these, people all of a sudden start to take shortcuts, left and right. So you'll get, something will go, you'll get normal transactions, debit and expense, credit, debit and expense, credit, debit and expense, credit. Then you'll get credit and expense, credit another expense, you'll get something real weird, and there'll be no description or something that says, because Joe told me to. You're dead right there. You have no audit trail to find out why is this weird thing in here? Why are we all of a sudden crediting expenses? And there's two of them and not one, and what's going on? And you go down and you ask whoever did it, your best employee who's worked for you for years, you can trust to the end of the world, you go down and you go, hey, Bob, why'd you do this? I don't know, that was 2 months ago, I don't remember. You're dead. So, description, 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 okay? Because no matter how much you think you'll remember it, 2 months from now there will be 1,200 other transactions in between now and then, and you won't remember. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
On the main practice set, there's one where it says, pay salaries with these checks for this amount, and then it says for regular employees plus the 3 part-time workers. Do you
Okay.
want us to write for blank number of regular employees and 3 part-time employees?
No.
Okay.
When we get to chapter 7 or 8, we will do payroll. And we'll talk about something called the payroll register. And at that point, I want you to refer in your description to the payroll register for the week ending such and such. And all the details there, and it tells them everything they need to know. Okay? So for now, paid employee wages for the week of September 29th, but that's about all you need. Check numbers 1001 through 1007, or whatever it is. Okay? Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
What about if it's saying for personal use and how would we?
Okay. A company check written for personal use. What account does it go to? Draw. It's the owner's draw. Okay? He's taking money out of the company to pay his own bills. Is he doing this correctly? Ideally, you want him to take one check made payable to himself, and then he writes checks out of his own personal account. Right? However, in the real world, every owner is at some point going to come in and say, write checks for this, 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 and this. So in a small enough company with an owner that doesn't have a lot of formal training, or any accounting training at all, you in essence are going to end up paying his personal bills to. Okay? So tell him up front, I know I'm going to end up paying your personal bills, and I want you to pay me extra for that. Okay? Other questions? All right, so where I want to go with this, we posted everything in the general journal. Let's go post them in the general ledger. Okay? Book of original entry, this is the first place we put them, right? Okay, what's the format for the general ledger? Help me out. Always the date. There you go. What? We're going to put accounts at the top here in a minute. I'm just going to get the categories up here. Date description. Posting reference. Debit. Credit. Then we have the balance. Debit. Credit. Okay? If we had a beginning balance, we could put that in here. 1-1-13. You'd spell it out. 2013 OCT, October 1, opening balance. Let's just pretend there's $1,000 in here for fun. Okay? That's kind of what I showed you earlier, and you're going to need that for the mini project. Good? So let's play a little bit. What accounts do we have? Well, we have cash. And that can be our cash account. And we're going to have an accounts receivable account. If I just come down here and draw a line across this, you guys can see the headers and I don't have to rewrite them, perhaps? Everybody good with that? Okay. Then we're going to have telephone expense. And let's post the equipment up here too. We'll just pretend those have no beginning balances. Fair enough? Okay. First one, September 1, we have cash, right? Better?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can see the writing.
You can see, but the camera doesn't move on it. Yeah. Okay. So, cash.
Can I quit?
You can't get fired, though, and you can't quit. So rent, we're going to skip the rent expense. Let's say we're responsible for just doing cash. So we would go to the general journal, we would pull this cash entry, and we have a credit for $1,400, correct? Okay. And I'm going to come over here and cheat. Remember we put in a beginning balance of 1,000? I'm going to make it 10 just so we have enough. All right? So it doesn't go negative on us. So I'm going to put in the date. Again, is October 1. Check number 1169. And it's a credit, right? $1,400. And I calculate the ending balance in cash. 10,000 minus 1,400 is 8,600. It's still an ending debit balance, correct? Even though I'm subtracting from a 10,000, it's still a credit balance, or debit balance. Say it right. Good? Okay. Now here's the fun part. Posting reference. Where did it come from? General Journal 1. Okay. See, I'm used to doing it General Journal 1. They teach you just J1. Okay? Because I might have a different journal and, So my posting reference for this, let's say this was account 101, you come back over here and in the posting reference column, but just for cash, you put in 101, like you wanted to do earlier, and then you know it's been done. Has the rent expense been done? No. Has any of this entry been done? No. But this one's done. Good? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I thought it was him.
It's okay. On the ledger, do you want us to write the description in there? Because in the book it says that it's not really required.
No, but it's nice to, again, I'm going to teach you to do more. Okay? Because if you go back and look and see what this is, what if I just wanted to figure out what check number it was so I can get a copy to prove that I paid it? Oh, look, it's right here. If it's not there, you've got to come over here and go find this, and you're still looking further. It'll save you some time. Okay? Okay, so if we're responsible for accounts receivable, which entry is it? I'm losing my mind.
Accounts payable, not receivable.
Sorry, accounts payable. Here. Now it's a P. Okay, accounts payable, we've got an entry here, right? In the equipment that we purchased. Okay? So on the 22nd, we have a credit to accounts payable for $1,000. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to put in a credit for $1,000. My description, what's my description going to be? There would be an invoice number that went with this piece of equipment we bought, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd probably get the name of the company in here, an invoice number, something. I have a $1,000 credit to accounts payable, so my balance is, assuming I have a zero beginning balance, a $1,000 credit balance. My posting reference again is General Journal 1. What's my account number for accounts payable? Let's call it 201. 202. Okay. So much for making these up as I go. And we would come over here and put in 202. Yes, ma'am.
In the book, it had a transaction for office furniture, but it didn't give us an account for office furniture.
It did not.
It did not.
Which date was
So
it?
this is problem 4.2A.
Mm-hmm.
And on the 5th, you purchased office furniture, and then on the 8th, you purchased a desk from the same place. But they did give us a office furniture account.
They gave you an office equipment account.
They did. So
Yeah.
put it under.
You're going to have to work with what they gave you,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But you're correct. I would try and put it in the other account. Okay? So, questions on how you post from the general journal to the general ledger? Everybody sees the concept and how it works? Everybody's comfortable with it? Because you're going to get to do lots of it on the mini project, right? Which is due 2 weeks from tonight. Start on it now. A lot of people have. I know of at least one person that's done. Okay. But do start on it, because after tonight you'll be able to do about 80% of it. Okay? Any more questions on this one? Yes?
So, I know you have an account number for cash and office equipment and accounts payable and stuff. Do you have accounts for like rent expense?
Yes, I just did not write them over here.
Okay, but would you add that number? You would do a transaction in that account also, right? As a
Yes.
rent expense, and you would add the money, you would debit the money to the rent account?
So for example, rent expense here, yes, you would go to the rent expense general ledger account.
Okay.
You would post the debit to that. So,
Oh, then it would be the same.
so you get the date, one, number, check number, whatever it is,
Okay.
and you would post your debit for $1,400 and a balance of $1,400. Okay, you would get your posting reference, and you would come back up here and you would plug in the rent expense number, which is, I don't know, I'm making numbers up at this point, right? Okay, but once I've posted it here, once you put in the posting references, you know they tie back and forth to each other so you can find them, but you know that this has been done. Okay? Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
When you're correcting an entry and the mistake was made in September and you're correcting it in October, do you do the full transaction on the October page or do you go back?
You cannot go back. You'll be correcting it on the date that you found the mistake. Okay? Once you've closed the prior month, you can't go back and change those numbers. Other questions?
Silly one.
There are no silly questions.
Today is everybody's using the computer.
Yes.
To this, the page would be the number one, and that's all.
The computer's doing this for you. Okay, it's tracking the page numbers for you. Actually, if you get something like QuickBooks, it shows you the check, and all you're doing is putting in the name of who you're making it out to and the amount. And then you tell it what account, and it does the rest of it for you. But it is doing this behind the scenes. One of the downfalls, I think, of QuickBooks is that it doesn't show you what it's doing. It doesn't show you all of this, and it sure doesn't show you, the rent general ledger account over here. Other programs will show you all of the activity that it's going to do, which I think is better. Okay? Other questions? No? I'm going to go into chapter 5 then.
One quick question.
There you go.
Could you show us how to do a correction on the general journal? Or no, on the general ledger, rather.
Okay. The correction is going to start in the general journal, though.
Okay.
Right? So I have to narrow down your question. Did I make the mistake over here, or did I enter this and come over here and enter it for $140 instead of $1,400?
Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
Okay. You're going to have to come over here and, cross out the incorrect math and fix this.
Okay. So
Okay.
you fix it there and you don't add a new line.
No.
Okay. But in the ledger,
In the ledger,
add a new line.
if it hasn't been posted yet, you can come in and cross it off and correct it. If it has been posted, which it has, you've got to make a new entry
Right.
below this and fix it.
So when it's been posted, it's set in stone, you have to pick your chisel and make a new line.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
All kinds of hands go up all of a sudden. Yes, ma'am.
So is that, like, if you were to do the entry for 140, then is that where you said that you would do the opposite, like reverse it out and then do it?
Well, you would do
like-
that over here.
Oh.
Over here, you're not going to reverse this out and then keep going. Every entry here is driven by an entry here. So I didn't make a mistake here, I made it here. I'm not going to create a new entry to fix that, am I?
Well, I was just thinking of, okay.
Right?
Yeah, I'm just trying to, I just thought you would reverse it out and re-enter it correctly.
That's what you do over here.
Okay.
Here you've just made this math error and you're going to have to fix it. Because if I put another line up here and I reverse it and then I put in another one, where's my audit trail on that? Where did these come from?
Right.
Right? So I'm going to, put in here in your description that you made a mistake and correct it.
But if
Okay.
the wrong accounts were used,
If you put it in the wrong account, then great hypothetical, you're going to go back over here and you're going to write a new entry for it.
so then you would reverse out of that account.
Then you're going to have to reverse it and take it somewhere else. Okay? But you're going to want to go back to this and put a big note in here in a different color saying, hey, I made a mistake when I posted this and blah, blah, blah. And again, more description is better. Okay, and the correcting entry was done on October 7th, and here's the accounts that were affected, and you're going to write a little note and staple it to the page because it's going to take up a lot of space, right? I'm joking, of course, but... Okay, there were other hands.
Mine's just kind of more of a grading question, I guess, because I know we're not supposed to erase anything ever, technically. I mean, on any tests or practices or anything that we do in this class, are you going to hold us to that?
No.
Okay, cool.
You're still learning. If I held you to that now, it'd be a mess.
Yeah.
Okay? I understand that. You had another question?
Yeah, what about if we have like more numbers, like it's, like you know how you correct 140?
Mm-hmm.
So what about if we have more under, like more, like adding more numbers? So that would,
I'm confused. I don't understand the question.
okay, so we have $1,000.
You got 10,000.
10,000, and we subtract 140.
Right. So you would get, 9,860 bucks, which is wrong because this was wrong.
Uh-huh.
It's really supposed to be 1,400, so I'm going to cross it out and I'm going to fix it, and it's going to be 8,600 bucks.
So what about if we had another one under, like,
If there's a bunch more in.
Yeah, you're going to go down and make the next entry, and it's going to be on the 3rd. You're going to,
Before you call.
yeah, before,
Oh, yeah, now you got to go fix them all.
all of them?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, if you just fix that one and leave the wrong balance running, you got a problem. Right?
So then I guess, but you can't. just
For
cross them
purposes
all
of what you're
out.
doing in class, erase it.
Well, right, but
Yeah.
I mean, if in real life, you can't just like
You're
go
gonna-
down the
you-
ledger and cross them all out, can you? And rewrite them?
Right? Well, you're going to have to. You're going to have to. You can't.
So they don't, but it's not expected.
Whiteout's not allowed either. Yeah.
But it's not expected that you would go back and like reverse that original? And, like,
Again, you made a mistake here, and you're going to have to fix it or you won't be in balance. But you didn't make a mistake there, so leave that alone.
Yeah.
Fix this. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
So you can't fix the ledger with another entry because you need to know the balance, the correct balance every day. Okay.
Yep.
But you can correct the general journal with an entry later on after many.
Yes.
After many.
Yes. And if you made a mistake here that you've got to fix, there can be an entry that you could have to drive it with an entry. Am I going to throw anything that complicated at you? No. Are you going to do this with a computer and the computer's going to go back and change it and you're not going to have to erase it and write over it? Yeah, So we can hypothetical this for a while longer if you'd like, but yeah.
Is there an example?
Of how to do it wrong? No, I'd rather not show you how to do it wrong.
I'm just a little bit confused, but I'll ask.
All she's saying is if you came over here and you posted this as 140 bucks instead of 1,400, cross it out, fix your math, and go on. Let's leave it at that. Okay? That's it. Because when we start adding hypothetical on hypothetical on hypothetical, people get confused.
But it wouldn't mess up the balance. of
It
the-
does, you're correcting the balance because it was wrong.
Yeah.
And we've got to get the right balance, otherwise it will be wrong. And your trial balance will be out of balance when you finish. Okay?
And it,
Yes, ma'am.
So this is all hypothetical in the real world. All this is done on the computer.
Mm-hmm.
How, when you correct that, you still have to cross it out on the computer? and
Well,
show?
to fix your hypothetical, if you got this right over here, the computer would not have made this mistake.
Okay.
We are done.
It would have, like,
It would not have made the mistake. If you put in the wrong number here, it's not going to know and it won't warn you. So that will be the kind of mistake you will make.
okay.
Okay? They'll all be general journal errors.
So the program that you would use in the real world,
Should do the math correctly.
when you make an entry into the ledger, or the journal, it'll automatically.
Post it to the general ledger for you. Yes. Yes. All right. Other questions? All right, chapter 5. I was going to show you some things on the board, but I think we're just going to jump into the screen. That is, if the screen works. Did it come on?
No.
Go ahead and turn that off for a second, please.